Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra versus the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra. Which should you buy? So the first thing I want to do is go into Samsung's shopping app right here and talk about each of these, because now the Galaxy S26 Ultra is starting to look like a bargain. $1,299 for that one. I mean, that's not a bargain. These are both top tier phones, but the Z Fold 8 Ultra going to run you $2,099 to start and goes all the way up to $2,700 if you go with the 1 terabyte. Now, keep in mind, right now is the best time ever to get a Z Fold 8 Ultra, as the trade-in credits are up to $1,200. The catch to that trade-in, though, is that your phone must be in really good condition, also have like no real issues with it, no cracks, nothing like that. And also you must be trading in like a Z Fold 7 or like an S26 Ultra, like right here, to get that massive trade-in discount. However, if you do go ahead and click one and go to the trade-in, you will see they're also offering higher trade-ins for some other phones as well. So if we go down here, I think I scrolled past it actually. So we'll click the cream, for example, hit yes, trade-in. And by the way, if you're noticing some lag, the Samsung app where you order these phones have been pretty laggy since the start of my pre-order process with these phones. So let's go over here. You'll see for Z Fold 7, $1,200, for S26 Ultra, $1,200, S26 Plus, $700. You can get $900 for the S25 Ultra. So this is the best time to take advantage, because they do lower these trade-ins after the initial pre-order phase. So do keep that in mind if you do plan to buy a Z Fold 8 Ultra. Now, both of these phones do give you top shelf specs, but they're going to do it very differently, with the S26 Ultra giving you more of a focus on the zooming camera, the periscope telephoto, and giving you the privacy display feature set on here. Also, because it has better thermals, it should give you slightly better cooling, which should give you a little bit better sustained performance. But when talking about the body and the build between these two, I think you should just go with the Galaxy S26 Ultra if you prefer a IP68 build, which is water resistant. If you prefer more tried and true design, and you prefer just a practical daily phone that you can do everything on very easily without having to have the friction of opening and closing a display like you'll find on the Z Fold 8 Ultra. So on a Z Fold 8 Ultra, you will get an 8-inch inner display, but you also get 3,000 nits of brightness, a new hinge that will give you a little bit more, less crease visibility. Although some people have complained about creases in the past, but when the brightness is turned up, when you're using these, you barely even see it anymore. But IP48 on the Z Fold, so it's not going to be like the highest version of the water resistant. Still not at that level just yet, but just a little bit more durable, I would say, kind of like everyday feel on the S26 Ultra. But design wise, it is a little bit easier when these Z Folds are closed. It's a bit easier to hold them. When they're open though, they're incredibly thin, so you don't feel too much on the edges. Just pretty darn thin experience now ever since the Z Fold 7. But on the S26 Ultra, it's still that thick slab type phone, so you will feel that for sure. Now, when it comes to displays, the Ultra, just pick the Ultra here if you want privacy functionality, because they didn't bring it over there. And also if you want S Pen functionality, which to me was a miss on these new folds, because they're getting better than ever. They now have a wide option, which we'll cover soon. I'm actually more excited about the wide option than the Ultra, just because it does give you a wider, more squat feel, which will give you a more pocketable experience, but also give you more of a tablet-y-like experience when open, versus this being more like two phones side by side. Example, I got a calculator right here, and then I go ahead and open up, let's go ahead and scroll down. Let's open up settings. It's kind of just like two phones side by side on this phone right here, versus a more tablet-like experience on the Z Fold 8, which I did pre-order, and we will be covering that, so stay tuned for that. But S Pen functionality still exclusive to the Ultra right here, although not Bluetooth anymore. At least you still get it on there, and I don't like how I have to put the S Pen in a certain way. Used to be reversible either way. But yeah, I would say in terms of the display, just get the Fold line if you do want a way better media experience on the Ultra, and especially a split screen multitasking. This is a power user's dream type phone right here, but it's definitely not an everyone phone for people who want just that all that screen at once, because you got to unfold it to get that big screen, unlike on the Ultra, for example. Brighter also on the inner display than the Ultra. This goes to 2600 nits. Z Fold 8 Ultra going to go up to 3000 nits, so keep that in mind as well. If you want One UI 9, you got to go to the Z Fold 8 Ultra. You get One UI 8.5, but you're probably not going to get One UI 9 on the S26 Ultra until about August, late August, maybe September. So you do got to wait a month or so to get the version, but that's not that long. I mean, time be flying these days, so I don't think that's big of a wait. Both of them do have 7 years of updates, so it doesn't really matter in that front. And then for the performance, I would say the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra would be my pick here, simply because the S26 Ultra does give you a better cooling system. So, and it's got that thick slab style to just kind of disperse that heat around the aluminum. We're going with this ultra razor thin stuff with the Z Fold 8 Ultra, and you will find yourself getting a little bit warmer than you will on some other phones, but not too bad. Probably mostly under setup and under heavier use. By the way, which color are you preferring the most? The green shadow, the cream, the graphite? For me, I'm loving this green right here on the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra. So let's go ahead and talk about my next topic, which is going to be the cameras. So if we pop open the cameras, we are going to be getting like a little bit better on the ultra wide. If you go to the ultra wide, you're going to be getting 50 megapixel on the Z Fold 8 Ultra, and you will be getting less. You're still going to get this same type of zoom that we found on Z Fold 7. So you're not going to be getting the 100x zoom. It only looks blurry because I'm really close right here. That's not actually how the results will turn out. But yeah, you get those same 200 megapixel cameras, but they're not quite as good on the camera as what you'll find on our Galaxy S26 Ultra over here, because the Ultra, if we go ahead and zoom it in, it's going to give you that 200 megapixel, but it gives you that, when we get out of 200 megapixel, we go over to 50, you can zoom up to 10x, and then on the 12, this is where it really shines. You can go up to 100x zoom. So a lot more versatility in that respect. So I still think the S26 Ultra is the better camera phone for camera users. I mean, they always do this every year where they keep certain things on the Ultra, the regular Ultra, so you don't like get away from that line. It's like they're trying, it almost feels like they're trying to keep the people who like the Ultra on the Ultra line and keep the people like the Z Fold on the Z Fold line. So you'll see right here that we have this ultra wide on the front. Well, not ultra wide, but it backs out a bit, and 12 megapixels on the front of Z Fold 8 Ultra. They do have a 12 megapixels, so it's going to be our 10 megapixel. It's going to be the same on the cover cameras and on the cover display as the Z Fold, or as the Ultra over here. So if I go ahead and take a look here, it's still going to be that 10 megapixel like found on Z Fold 7. So not really a big difference when it comes to this newer phone versus last year's phone for 8 Ultra. So I would say just go with the Galaxy S26 Ultra if you want the better front-facing camera. Now, when it comes to the batteries, we are going to get 5,000 milliamp hour on both. However, keep in mind that the battery experience is going to be better for the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra compared to Z Fold 7, but not necessarily better than the S26 Ultra because it's powering the inner display and the outer display. So while it does have the silicon carbon technology semi-built into that lithium ion, we will likely see a slightly better battery on the S26 Ultra. We got to do more testing on that first before I make my final conclusive decision there. But even though both 5,000, I think with this inner display, Z Fold 8 Ultra does need a bigger cell. So I would say if battery is your primary concern, I would just go with the S26 Ultra. But if you're really waiting on a battery, a really good battery, I probably would wait till next year. They're probably going to fully adopt silicon carbon on the S27 Ultra. So that would probably be the one I would wait for if that's your main thing. But you can go with the Z Fold 8 Ultra right now if you want a better folding battery than previous versions, which weren't all that, especially when you use the inner display. When you use the outer display and you kind of mix up that use, Z Fold 7, Z Fold 6 were already pretty fine. So I expect the Z Fold 8 to be just a bit better for sure with its increase in that silicon carbon tech. So definitely, I'll look more into that as we use these newer folds. But as of now, I'm going with the S26 Ultra and waiting for the S27 Ultra if I want the best absolute Samsung phone battery on a flagship phone. Now, connectivity, these things are both rocking the same connectivity, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6.0, and USB 3.2. So if you decide to buy either one of these, you're going to be getting really similar connectivity, which is not really a big change between either. So in conclusion, the S26 Ultra still has the S Pen. It still has that true slab design. It still has the better camera system. And this is the one I would order if you want the best of the best from Samsung. I still think it's right here on the S26 Ultra when I'm talking about cameras, batteries, just overall. It just has everything they could throw in a phone. This thing is ultra refined, but it does have the privacy display, which to me is a bit more innovative than the folding phones when it comes to software functionality. But at the same time, the Z Fold 8 Ultra is an incredible productivity tool. So if you do want that split screen multitasking, you do need that power user phone. Once you start using a fold, it's really hard to go back to a slab phone if you got used to the functionality that is provided. It really can give you a near mini desktop like experience on this phone. Now, if you want the more media like version where it's going to feel more like a little tablet you just chill out with at night and you have a nice pocketable daily phone, I would steer you way more towards the regular Z Fold 8 that just got launched. This Passport style is way more, I would say, consumer friendly, way more just put it in your pocket, go about your day, then sit back, kick back, and be on a little tablet. It really is kind of that kind of tablet-y like experience we've been waiting for a little bit more versus this two like side-by-side type foldable right here on the Z Fold 8 Ultra. Now on the iPhone Fold, this is kind of like a preview to what's coming with that. So if you really like that, but you wanted Samsung, you got this thing now. But overall, Z Fold 8 Ultra is definitely worth it for its spec increases, for its, I would say, nicer new colors. But keep in mind that now they're starting the phones, the Z Fold 8 Ultra, at $2,099 for 256 gig. The storage crisis with the AI stuff going on has caused these increase in prices. But last year you can get the Z Fold 7 for $1999 with 512 gigs, double the storage at pre-order. Now it's $2,099 for 256 gig. Yes, they're throwing in a massive trade-in, which I do like once again, but it's still like $900 plus tax for a 256 gig, which is pretty steep, I would say, for a device with a $1,200 trade-in that only gives you 256 gig. So you're giving them a $1,200 phone, be it. So, but you're probably not going to get $1,200 almost nowhere for those phone trade-ins. So these are still pretty sweet trade-ins to sweeten the deal, and they're throwing in a credit to give you a couple free cases or whatever. So it's still a solid deal, and I think Z Fold 8 Ultra is definitely worth it. It's never been a better time to get a folding phone, I would say, than this year in 2026, and it's only going to get better from here. Let me know which one you would pick, S26 Ultra, Z Fold 8 Ultra, down below in the comment section, and stay tuned because I'm really looking forward to covering and discussing the Z Fold 8, which I got on pre-order right now. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.